Dun dun dun. I'm here. A little worse for wear, maybe a little wet, but I'm here. All right. Let's see if we get the screen here and you guys see me and all that fun stuff, and we'll get things going. Hmm. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Come on, YouTube. We're not waiting. We're waiting for you. You're not waiting for me. Hello? There we go. 30 seconds. No. Still waiting. Come on, YouTube. I've been live for 35 seconds already. Hello, YouTube. Come on today. Okay, now if I refresh, you're going to show an ad. Okay, I'm going to skip through that. There we go. All right, now I can see me. Okay, what do you know? Guess YouTube's still having problems. Not a big surprise. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We'll see how many people are here today based on how many people don't have power, don't have whatever. Seeing and reading the comments here for past 10 minutes or so with you guys getting in there and shoveling snow and a foot of snow and lots of rain. And rain ended here probably about 2:30, thereabouts, maybe 3 o'clock. Then we got wind gusts going through. So pretty much what everybody else did. Put about, well, I looked this morning and the overnight rains put about a foot of water in the pond. So I don't know what the afternoon one did because I didn't go out in the rain. Other than that, it was getting PBJ back on the road, get her home again. So did that today, but she made it home, got home about a half an hour ago. So that was good. So she's safe at home back up in Indiana. Got to drive through all the rain all day, lucky her, but at least she's back home, and tomorrow's the big day interviewing here at LMU. So we'll see if she gets her choice of schools to go to. So proud Papa. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on here today. Saw a few of you talking about what's going on in Ecuador. That's kind of interesting. I guess the cartels have stormed the police departments, the TV stations, busted some huge drug kingpin out. Yeah. There you go. That's the kind of culture I want to have here in the United States, right? Let's keep letting those people across the border. But then again, like I said over lunchtime, we talk about crime and against what, even though crime was down, it ain't because of Biden policies. It's because we have 10% more gun ownership in the United States than we had 3 years ago. Gee, I wonder why. Is it that nobody trusts the government anymore? Don't trust the court system, the police department to protect us, so we'll take care of it ourselves? Yeah, I think that's it. So just kind of interesting, some of this information I found that I want to tell you guys about. So hopefully you guys got a chance to take a look at that. The other interesting one today, if you caught it, does the name Ray Epps ring a bell to anybody? J6 maybe? The instigator to this all? Yeah, well, they finally brought him through court, and he was sentenced to a $500 fine and probation and some community service for his part in January 6th. He was the ringleader and got a slap on the wrist. The people that did nothing have been rotting in jail for 3 years. You want more proof that this was an inside job? I talk about rules for thee and not for, or rules for me and not for thee. I always get that one wrong. Or two different forms of justice. Yeah, that would prove it. Ray Epps, if everybody else is doing 3 years, you should be doing 30. You're the one who's on video all over the place saying, let's go, right? But no, $500. How do you want that? 10s or 20s? Just unbelievably sickening to see that today, the corruption in Washington. Not that much of anything's going to fix it. I love the big stories on everything going on in Iowa. Next Tuesday is the Iowa caucuses. Which ought to be interesting because for 2 weeks you had Fox News saying Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, and all of a sudden they realized nobody likes Nikki Haley. And so now all of a sudden today they flipped and go, Ron DeSantis, Ron DeSantis. I'm just waiting for next Wednesday morning. It ought to be so much fun to watch everybody at Fox trying to wipe the egg off their face. We said Nikki Haley had a chance. We said Ron DeSantis had a chance. And we go, and Donald Trump won by 40 points. Yeah, okay. I mean, my guess, this is my prediction. Ron DeSantis drops out after New Hampshire, okay? And Nikki Haley hangs on through South Carolina, her home state, and when she gets crushed there, she'll drop out. So that's my guess, is by the time the first three primaries are over, Trump's got the nomination. There's nobody left. Okay. I don't know. Is there no Ramaswamy? Who knows when the hell he'll drop out, but he will. He might hang in long enough because he's still campaigning for Veep. But that's about it. One thing I wanted to mention, this whole storm deal today kind of hit one of us pretty hard. If you guys know Bradford Homestead, okay, some of you guys obviously seen her in here, maybe watch her channel or whatever. She went up with an electrical fire over this storm and burned about half of her house. And apparently her insurance company is already giving her crap about paying for it. So she is currently staying in a hotel with 2 dogs, trying to find somewhere to go because you got to get the house fixed. I'm going to put the link to her channel down here in comments real quick. If anybody has the ability to help her out a little bit to get any of her house fixed or get her a place to stay, if you hit the About section on her, if you go to her homepage there and hit the little arrow right under it where it says, my name is Ann, welcome to my channel, I'm a One Woman Homestead. If you click on that little arrow there, it'll show her Cash App or her Venmo. So if you've got the ability to help her at all, great. If you don't, at least say a prayer for her so that, hopefully she can get things going back for herself. So, but yeah, and as Kit Carlson says, that's awful, but thankfully she's still alive. Yeah, she made it, the dogs made it, nobody's hurt, but I guess a couple of rooms in her house are completely trashed, and then you get this storm, so you can imagine all the water and everything like that go with it. So who knows what that's going to bring, but yeah, keep her in your prayers tonight. All right, so that's kind of it for me running my mouth. Let's get into Q&A. As per normal, if you guys have questions for me, please put it in all caps. It just makes it easier for me to see everything as I'm scrolling through the chat, makes the live stream go a little smoother. And as usual, the only thing I require is that we treat each other in here with a little dignity and respect. Okay, disagreement is fine, I don't care, but do it politely. Okay, we don't need any more assholes in this world than we already have, and they certainly aren't welcome here. I've booted a couple of people. A couple of people have been here for a long time too, from the channel lately, who decided they were going to get a little mouthy. They can go do it somewhere else. Okay, I'm sorry. Those are the rules. Not like nobody's ever heard them before. We're here to help each other, not bitch about each other. So, all right, let us get into Q&A, and let me see what I can find here. Lake Girl, yeah, probably he'll put the $500 on his expense account, Ray Epps. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, the FBI will just go, hey, no problem. Here you go. Here's your reimbursement. Okay. Moving on down. RLRL, Mr. P, have I seen the new EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra? That thing's a beast. I have seen the link for it. I've read up a little bit on it on the EcoFlow website. I have not obviously seen it or anything like that. So I don't know if I'll ever be reviewing it. If Elliot wants me to, I don't know. So we will see what happens with that one. But yeah, I mean, they're just getting more powerful. I mean, technology advances. Okay. Again, we've talked about 2 years ago, maybe it's almost 3 years ago now, that we were looking at the 1300s, and gee, a refurbished one was $850. And now you're buying the same capacity, a brand new one for $600. So yeah, I mean, every technology keeps getting better. I mean, remember when we were originally talking about lithium ion batteries and everybody's going, oh my God, everything's catching on fire. Now we're into lithium iron phosphate and no problems. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the Delta Pro Ultra. I'd love to check it out. We'll see if I do. Okay, I see Patrick King. I'm going to put Bradford Homestead's link up one more time there because somebody else just asked for it a second time. So we'll put that there. All right. Robert Bates, Mountaintop Prep said he can plumb his gutters to your pond. We'll put together a work party if I give us the address. Well, let's see. We'd need nearly a mile of guttering. And we'd have to go across a lot of people's property. So I don't see it happening. I've kind of already taken care of how to get the water from his house into my pond anyway. So it goes down the street, it's diverted into a drain and into the pond. That's where we go. So, Country Humans Network. What do I think of the problem at Boeing with the 737 MAX jets? Yeah, besides the one in, was it Portland or Seattle? I forget. Go figure. That the piece flew off the plane in flight. I think it was just after they took off, over they like 15,000 feet or whatever, and all of a sudden they got a hole in a plane. Not good. And then what was it? Alaska Airlines and I think it was United both found, maybe it was Southwest, I don't remember. Found loose bolts on the plane. There's something inherently wrong with the 737 Maxes. I mean, remember, this is the same plane that a couple of years ago you had 2 crashes in a week, around the world. And then they grounded them all for what, a year or 18 months or something. And now we have another problem again. There's either some shoddy workmanship or a massive design flaw with this plane. Personally, if Boeing was smart, they would scrap the entire MAX program and go back to the ones that they don't have problems with. And while you're at it, make the seats a little bigger, so people that are over 5'2" can fly and fit in a plane. All right. Whoops, I got a shot to the bottom here. I got to find where I was again. Okay. Holly H., does Trump's immunity trial affect the other former presidents? I'd assume so. It's not like they're making, it's called precedents, okay? But, we don't know all the workings going on. I mean, the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing coming out and Clinton's name being mentioned, was it 52 times or something like that in these reports? Damn well, I mean, even Hillary's name was mentioned in there. So you don't know if there's some play on this where, gee, if we can lose the case against Trump, we can protect the Clintons or whatever. Because you still know, I mean, the 2 most powerful families in the Democrat Party are the Clintons and the Obamas. I mean, Biden's, trust me, when he loses in November, you'll never hear from him again because the Democrats want nothing to do with him. And it's not like they're going, hey, Dr. Jill, you're important. Hey, Hunter, can we get an interview? I mean, maybe if it's a jailhouse interview as he's going to the death chamber, that would be a possibility for him. But so that's where Hillary should be. But yeah, you don't know. And I mean, there's so much that we don't know about what's going on, but let's just hypothetically throw it out there that maybe they brought the case against Trump to protect Clinton, knowing they were going to lose and what defense. And then they go, well, if you let him go, you got to let him go. I'm speculating, but I don't put it anything past the slimy creatures that are in Washington to do something like that. You know, they figure, hey, it's a no lose situation. Either we get rid of Trump or we save the Clintons. And we shot to the bottom again. Okay, hang on. Meanwhile, Prepper 976. What are my thoughts on the whole Lloyd Austin situation? Yeah, isn't that screwed up? Okay. Uh, Interesting because he goes, checks himself into the hospital. You know, this guy's only the Secretary of Defense, right? And doesn't tell the White House where he is until 3 days after. Turns out, you know, he's diagnosed with cancer. And, you know, so we don't have a defense secretary actively. Now, I mean, mind you this, when a president goes in for surgery or anything like that, and it happens, these guys are old, okay? If they've got to be put under anesthetic, there is a transfer of power to the vice president temporarily while the president is under anesthetic, okay? But now you're talking to the defense secretary who didn't tell anybody he was going to be in the hospital for a couple of days, okay, with all of this going on. Now, we all know that the president is the commander in chief. In other words, the most senior ranking member of the military, which tells you everything you need to know about the status of today's military. The defense secretary is right there in the upper echelon. Okay, let's put it that way. You know, I mean, you could say the VP would be number 2 or something like that. But, you know, the defense secretary is still the one controlling the moves for the, you know, generals call the defense secretary sir. Okay, give you that. What kind of example did Lloyd Austin set for everybody in the military by going AWOL? Absent without leave. You don't just leave in the military without somebody knowing where you are. Okay, that's punishable by jail time. There was a guy who was air defense artillery when I was in, and he decided he'd had enough, and he just left. Military tracked him down, put him in jail. I knew that guy. So what example has Lloyd Austin set for the military? Hey, you know what? If you don't want to be here, just take off for a few days. No big deal. That's the kind of leadership we have under this administration. Okay. That's my opinion. He should be gone immediately I mean, Trump told Biden, you need to fire him. Biden's sticking by him, you know. You look at, I'll give you this. Trump had some real shitty decisions for personnel in his administration. No question. We'll all agree about that. Okay. Trump didn't have any experience in Washington. He didn't know all the politicians. He didn't know all the dirt. Joe's been there for 50 freaking years. There is nobody in Washington that Joe doesn't know. Okay. And he still picked the most incompetent, idiotic morons to run this country. You know, birds of a feather flock together. Jacqueline Presnell, good evening, Pinball. Do I have a freeze dryer? And if not, why not? Well, considering we've probably answered this question 50 times before. No, I do not. And no, I can't justify spending $3,000, $4,000 on a freeze dryer when it's 2 of us. Okay. It's not worth the money to me. Okie Ranch wife, a banquet of consequences. When seeds germinate, would you consider this birthing seeds? Bates, you're in trouble. Lorna, put Robert in timeout. All right. Lynn Eschleman. Question, Mr. P. I'm looking for a portable heater for my car in case of an emergency. Thoughts? What's wrong with the heat in your car? Okay, I guess I'm confused. Are you talking about a portable heater that you could use in your car? I'd be thinking, okay, the car's got a heater. That would be the way to do it. Or are you talking about something that's portable that you could take with you? But then, in order to answer that question, I'd have to know what kind of space, where you're talking about using it. I'm not quite understanding a portable heater in the car because the car's got heat. So I'm not sure. Yeah, you're gonna have to give me a little bit more on that. Hang on, we keep shooting all over the place in this thing. Hang on, I gotta find where I was again. Okay, we got that one. Do. Estate Time 85. Air layering. If I sell tree or bush starts, does that fall under the cottage law or something else? Okay, I'm not familiar with what the cottage law is, so I don't have any sort of, I no knowledge whatsoever about what that would be. So sorry, I can't answer that. Ann Palmer, my local feed and seed closed. I will be ordering more seeds now. What companies do I recommend or not recommend? MI Gardner's good. Haas Tools is good. Johnny's Seed Company is good. I can't think of what. Baker Seeds is good. The only one that I would say avoid is Reimer Seeds. I've ordered stuff from them and nothing ever germinated. That's the only one I'd say avoid. Dash Micro Homestead. When can I start seeds? Well, it depends on what kind of seeds you're talking about. I mean, I will start my brassicas here, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, that sort of stuff, this weekend. And those will go in the ground here around the beginning of March. Now, it depends on where you are. If you live south of me, you can probably go about the same time. If you live north of me, you're still digging out of snow in March. Okay. Certainly not starting tomatoes or peppers. I mean, those won't start for a few months yet. So, this is where I say all the time, there's a lot more to gardening than sticking a seed in the dirt. Okay, you got to get your timing right. You got to know what climate it likes to grow as, cold weather crops, hot weather crops, et cetera. How much water they use, how much sunlight they need, et cetera, et cetera. So where the internet's a great thing, you're going to have to go research your own area because I can't answer. I'm in zone 3. I'm in zone 7. What do I do? I don't know that stuff. I know my area, and then I've adjusted what the recommended is for my area based on my yard. Okay. Because just because they say I'm in zone 7A now, that goes from southern Kentucky all the way down to North Alabama, roughly ballpark. Like I've said many times, I have different growing conditions than Mountaintop Preps does, and he's a mile away from me. Okay, he's probably 1,000 feet higher than me too. So a lot of different things come into play. You can't just go, oh, gee, the seeds are out, time to plant them. It doesn't work. You plant your tomatoes now, I guarantee they're going to be either enormous or dead by the time you can put them in the ground. Ghostwalker Airsoft Tech, Pinball, thanks for putting out the reminder for the other day. I put out a PSA to the mag as a result. Good. Okay. That's the thing. Some of the stuff I told you about was probably useless. I don't need to go to the gas station. I've got plenty done, or whatever. Some of the things might have been, hey, that's a good idea. Maybe I do need to go find out if all the batteries in my flashlight work because I haven't checked my flashlight in however long or whatever. So. Angel Dupree, what kind of job did Mrs. P have in Russia? Well, she had a few, like most of us. Okay, she worked for the train station for a while. She worked for the police station for a while, the police department, I guess. And then she was a recruiter for a while. So go figure that. Mike Starr, I think that YouTube is messing with you. No notification tonight. Really? YouTube messing with me? No, that would never happen, right? YouTube loves us so much. Angela, thank you for the super chat. Let's see if I can pick up what we said in there. I'm in North Carolina between Asheville and Johnson City. Heard you say you start carnage. I'm assuming you mean cabbage. Not starting any carnage in your garage. Do you use grow lights or in as a greenhouse and sun? If you go back and look last January, you'll see what I built. I built a workbench, and it's what, 12 by 4. So it's workbench on top, and then there's a shelf on the bottom. And what I did is I lined the underside with grow lights and then put plastic down the side. So the bottom shelf is like a greenhouse under my workbench. And I mean, 48 square feet, I can get a boatload of plants under there. And so I used it last year. It worked freaking awesome. You know, I've got the grow lights in there, and then I've got a garden heater in there. And I mean, I was growing plants out there in January. And as I said, I will be starting my cabbage, and we're going to do some broccoli this year. I'll be starting those this weekend. So, and then because those are early to plant, they'll have about 6 weeks to grow inside until I can get a decent sized plant, and then they'll go in the garden. All right. Carnage rather than cabbage. Kathleen Maddox, Pinball, if you have the long white tentacles on potatoes, can you cut those off and plant? Don't cut them off, but you can cut them down to about 1 inch. Okay, that's where your stems of your plant are going to grow. You don't need to leave. I mean, I know I've seen some of these, you know, they're 2-3 feet long. Just cut them off till they're about 1 inch. The plant will then plant your potatoes, and that's where your green growth will come from. The reason they're white is because they're starved for light, okay? And they're growing, they're trying to find light wherever they can. They're sucking all the energy out of the potato that they've got now. The problem you get when you get these real long ones is that that potato is now out of, or very close to out of everything it needs to start to grow. So, Forest Ghost, you guys are all on potatoes tonight. Forest Ghost Preparedness. Any tips for growing potatoes? Mine did not produce last season. Okay. First thing, and forgive me if I'm telling you some parts that you already know based on your question. I don't know how knowledgeable you are about growing potatoes. Okay. First off, you got to make sure you chit, C-H-I-T, your potatoes. All those little eyes on your potatoes, those are the potential stalks that you want to grow. So what you'll do with those is, and now is a good time to start, get them out so they get some light. You don't need to be putting them in a eastern facing window or something like that. You can just put them in the living room somewhere near, you know, a window or in a bedroom, you know, so they get some dappled light, just so there's a little bit, so you don't get these long white tentacles like we were just talking about. Okay. When you plant them, you're going to plant them somewhere 4 to 6 inches deep. Many ways to do this. I'm just going to tell you the way I do it. I use the trench method. Okay. I just basically take a hoe and I cut a trench 4 inches deep, and then I plant my potatoes about 18 inches apart. Cover them all up. Let them go. You don't need to, starting with 10-10-10 or 13-13 or triple 13 is good. Okay. But like I said to you guys the other day, you need to put that out in the garden well before you plant in it. All these videos I see where people are spreading their fertilizer at the same time they're planting, and going, that's a waste of time and a waste of money, because you might get, if you're lucky, 10% of the usefulness out of the fertilizer doing it that way. You know, this is all that granulated fertilizer is slow release fertilizer. So you need to put that out a month, 2 months before you're going to plant in the garden. So it's already enriching the soil. Okay. Because when you put it out at the same time, you're putting your plant in, you're harvesting in 90 days, and the fertilizer's going, cool, now is about time when we're releasing our stuff. And you're going, I'm taking everything away from you. So it's not doing any good. Okay. So, make sure that you get your balanced fertilizer out there a couple of months ahead of time. When you are in the growing phase, when the plant is growing, okay, hit it with a dose 1 of liquid nitrogen fertilizer, okay, which a diluted urine is perfect. Okay, you can always go put blood meal out there, but again, you're going to have to put blood meal out ahead of time, and that's why I say use your balanced, use your triple 13. You want to use something liquid once you've planted. Then after your plants have now got to that potato plant, 12 to 18 inches, maybe 18 inches, let's just say. Then at that point, that's when it's going to start setting tubers. And this is when you want to hit it with a liquid potassium/phosphorus fertilizer. Okay. And that should cover. The other thing is, with potatoes, you don't have to have the greatest ground in the world. If you've ever been to Idaho, it's not fluffy light soil. Okay. And Idaho potatoes, right? Potatoes actually grow better in poor soil conditions. I won't say bad, okay? But they don't need all this, sifted compost and everything. Potatoes are fine growing in a mix of clay, they're no problem. So, don't worry about all this beautiful soil for your potatoes. Lisa Morgan, okay, I'm glad you qualified the question. I'm new to this channel. Is there a solar generator you recommend? Yes and no. Okay. The two most recommended brands, I would say, are Opus and EcoFlow. Not that they are the only ones that I'd recommend, they have the widest variety of product. Okay. So if you want to build your whole system, everything with a lot of interchangeable parts, okay, cords and things like that, you pretty much want to stick to one company or one manufacturer. Doesn't mean that All Powers or FF Power or Mango or anything like that don't have great products. They do. Okay. It's just, do you need a 300 watt, a 600 watt, a 1,000 watt, a 1,300 watt, an 1,800 watt, a 2,400 watt, a 4,000 watt? Okay. Those are why I like EcoFlow and Opus, because they cover the gamut. Most of the other, all the other companies don't. And again, I can't say I recommend a solar generator because it depends on what you're going to do with it. Do you need it to run a refrigerator? Is that all you need in the way of power? That's what you want? Yeah, 1,300 watt generator is going to be fine for you. Okay. Do you want to run a refrigerator and a couple of freezers? Maybe you need a 2,000 watt generator. Then the other question I always ask everybody is, what are you going to do when that one's charging? So you need to have the redundancy built in. I need to have one running while the other one's charging. So, and then remember, you can't charge at night. So if you've got one running at night and one charging it during the daytime, when the daytime one, the one that was charging during the day is running your fridge at night, the one that was running your fridge before isn't charging at night. So now you've got two empty fridges or generators in the morning. You got to think like that. It's not just having one. So there's a lot to it, and I've gone over that in many videos on how to choose generators. I don't get into all the math on it, because let's say your refrigerator runs on average uses 400 watts an hour, because a refrigerator will do this when the compressor kicks on. But let's say on average it's 400 watts, okay, an hour. Or I'm sorry, that's not going to be, never going to be, it's around 400 on a surge. let's say it runs 100 watts an hour. Okay. Well, that means a 1300 watt generator would run technically for 13 hours, except you're not supposed to run generators below 20%. So at that point, take 1300 minus 12, minus 260, make it 300 just to be easy. So that's 1,000 watts. So if you're on average 100 watts, that 1300 watt generator will run your refrigerator for 10 hours. That's it. You got to put another one on to run for the other 10 hours. You know, there's a lot you have to figure out to what to do. You're going to have multiple power sources to run anything. Then can you well, this is why I talk about uninterrupted power supply and pass through and everything. Is it possible to be charging your generator at the same time as using it? And some of them you can, and some of them you can't. So you need to know those things as well. Picking a generator is just like picking a car, for example. What do I need it to do? Gee, I need it to, haul a trailer full of horses. Great. A Honda Civic is not going to be your choice of car. Get my point. Okay, we talked that one already. Trying to find a question. Scott McHugh, remember, if they go to jail, they have more rights than you or me. Well, I don't know. Maybe in a courtroom, but I kind of like the fact that I still get to choose what I'm having for dinner. So, running with scissors. Boy, we haven't seen you in a while, or at least you haven't made a comment in a while. Thoughts on what will happen if Trump wins in November? Well, like I said, what happens on November 6th, because the election's on November 5th, is going to be chaos, provided that the race is called that night. Because if Trump wins, cities are going to burn, okay? The BLM Antifa crowd is going to go absolutely berserk. If Trump loses, if Biden won, okay, if Biden wound up winning the election again, imagine we're going to have chaos the other way, because we've already had one election that was so crooked. I mean, it makes a pretzel look straight. Okay. There's no way in the world. I mean, nobody with a straight face can say Biden got 81 million votes. I'm sorry. It's just not possible. We only had 112% of the registered voters in the country voted if Joe got 81%, something like that. Okay. So yeah. But nobody can ever figure that one out yet. It's all over the place. But gee, we had more people vote than we had people registered to vote. That's interesting. So yeah, at that point he will be officially illegitimate. He's unofficially illegitimate right now. But if Biden wins, there is nobody in the world that is going to accept him as the president. And that's not me having a jaded right view or anything like that. The entire world knows he's illegitimate, and they're not going, maybe China and Ukraine would be happy because, they've got dirt on them, but anybody else, no. Dale from Ohio, Defense Secretary is number 6 in the pecking order. I think I heard the Deputy Defense Secretary was on vacation in Puerto Rico. Okay. Yeah, I'm not talking about the Defense Secretary being in line for the White House. I'm just talking about there's always somebody that when the ultimate decision maker is incapacitated, somebody else is temporarily the ultimate decision maker. Because Lloyd Austin didn't tell anybody, there was literally nobody in charge of the Defense Department for a couple of days. Texas Sass, thoughts on Joey traveling 1,500 miles to Texas for 90 minutes? Remind me again about that carbon offset thing, that how we're all supposed to drive electric cars because we're putting too much carbon dioxide in the air, right? But that plane that you took for no other purpose than a photo op, tell me how that worked. You know, how much pollution does Air Force One put out? What's the equivalent in cars? Yeah, both sides of the mouth, guys. If you haven't figured out yet that the green agenda is nothing but a money grab, there's a perfect example. Goudas, pressure canning is cheaper than freeze drying unless it's 5 years ago and you had time. Well, considering I do a boatload of pressure canning, so there's not, I mean, the dinner tonight out of canned barbecued pork that I made last summer, and canned potatoes that we made last summer. So that was dinner tonight. But, you know, again, I'm not trying to knock freeze drying, okay? First off, I find the freeze dryers extremely expensive. Second off, they use a boatload of energy. Okay, so your electric bill is going to go up. But why? Okay, would you rather eat reconstituted freeze-dried food, or would you rather eat something that's pressure canned? Okay, sure, the canning process will change the taste a little bit. Trust me, if you've ever eaten dehydrated food, it doesn't taste anything like normal. You're not going to dehydrate a hamburger patty, add a little bit of water, and go, hey, look, here's this nice juicy hamburger patty. Go eat an MRE. It ain't, trust me. You know, freeze drying is good, I guess. Again, this is my opinion. If you figure, I gotta bug out, I don't know where I'm going, but I've got to take a lot of food with me that's going to be lightweight and last me for a long time. Okay, then I'll give you freeze drying. I don't want to eat freeze dried food. I'm not going to keep it in my house. I mean, do I have a couple of freeze dried meals in my bug out bag? Yeah, that's it. Okay. Other than that, no, I've got some stuff that's dehydrated. I've got some stuff I got a lot of stuff that's canned, and I got a lot of stuff that's frozen because I don't plan on going anywhere. You know, again, it's your own decision, but I don't see the necessity of freeze dried stuff on a large scale. My opinion. And shoot to the bottom, back, find where we were again. Okay. Janice Kirk, my broccoli is still alive but not producing. Broccoli is not something that produces over. You get one head of broccoli plants done, end of story. It's not a perennial. Okay, so if you've already got your head of broccoli off of it, pull the plant. It's done. Ghostwalker Airsoft Tech says Heaven's Harvest for seeds. Give them a try okay. I never heard of them, so okay, I'll take your word for it then. Lisa Lawson says I like Knoxville Seed Company. I've never heard of them either. That means they're not. I mean, Christ, I don't know everything. I don't know everybody. You know, they may be good. Somebody asked me what I like. I'm telling you the ones I buy my seeds from. The ones that I've had success with, the ones I haven't. Lita knows. Is it too late to get garlic in New Mexico? Wait a minute. I'm assuming that's Mississippi, MS. Is it too late to get garlic in? I'm going to take a guess. It's Mississippi. But then we say we're having our first freeze next week. You're late. I'd still give it a shot. Not a problem. I mean, it's still cold enough, but that you're going to get that winter chill through it. Just remember garlic's got a lead time of about 9 to 10 months. So you're probably not going to be harvesting your garlic if you're putting it out here till Thanksgiving or Halloween at least. Susan M 1224, do I know of any place to buy elderberry plants now in your area? When we bought ours, I bought them online and had them shipped. They came about this big. Elderberry grows very fast, guys. In 2 years, the thing was 6 feet high. So yeah, buy them online. Cheryl Holder, what do I think of winter sowing your seeds in milk jugs? Never tried it. I can't really give you an answer. I never done it. Tony DG 9410. Thanks, Pinball. Got my freezer alarm today and started my cabbage and herbs yesterday. Well, my freezer alarm shows up tomorrow, and I will start my cabbage on Saturday. So, or Sunday, whatever. Thereabouts. Laura Story. So when does Mountaintop Preps tune out Ricola when trying to get your attention downhill? You guys. Miranda Babcock, what is my favorite flashlight? One you can afford, okay? One that you have. My favorite one is the Olights. We've got the little Olight, the one that's an inch around or whatever. And I can light up my yard, 3 acres worth of my yard. I can see the dog at this time of night at the far ends of the yard, no problem. You can get the bigger ones. It'll look like it's freaking daytime out there if you want. But for a quality flashlight, it'll cost you about $100. But, it's this big and that big around. And the beam of light that I get out of that thing, I got 2 of them. And the beams of light you get out of that is awesome. Caveman Look, do I know the names of the federal judges in my district? No, I do not. Let's see. Kevin Little, canned a few pounds of beans today. Dry soak can method. First time turned out perfect. Thanks, Lisa at Sutton's Days. There you go. Yeah. Every once in a while, there's some questions you guys can ask me about canning, and I'll know them. Okay. I'm not an expert in canning. I've said this from the get-go. I've been doing it for a couple of years. But when somebody's got questions about things, and somebody emailed me today about a question about their asparagus and cans, and I'm like, I'm not the one to ask. Go talk to Lisa. So, yeah. She's the expert. When you can build a YouTube channel based on canning, I'd say you're the expert. That's it. Von Mousetrap, what is Mrs. P's favorite thing to grow in the garden? Flowers. Her roses, her peonies. I'd say her peonies. There's a hand up. Vegetables wise, she's saying tomatoes and cabbages, but I'd say yes in regards to her favorite thing to grow: her roses and her peonies. Yes, we're being listened to. Old hippie, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'll skip it. Goudaw's comments on Fannie Willis and her boyfriend, special prosecutor. Yeah, we knew she was corrupt from the beginning on this. I go back and watch any video. I said Trump will be acquitted on every charge against him, and we're already seeing Jack Smith's office is under investigation. Fannie Willis is under investigation. The New York case is falling apart. That's it. They got nothing. The whole point of all these things was to keep Trump off the campaign trail. They didn't want Trump to get the nomination. The problem is it backfired on him all big time because he doesn't need to be on the campaign trail, and he's blowing away the competition. 5-acre gardener, Pinball, I got a seed catalog from a company called Knee Seed. Have I ever used them? I've never even heard of them. So, who knows? For all you know, they're a seed reseller too. That's the thing. JD Paul, what is the number one issue we need to prepare for this year? Hacking, virus, war? My opinion, economic collapse. And I mean, again, this is something I've discussed many times. I mean, you're hearing economists say that will collapse sometime in the second quarter. I think it's more sometime into summer, but you're going to see the dollar completely fall apart. And when that happens, then it's just a snowball effect to everything else. Eve of Survival. Can I plant sweet potatoes from seeds? There's no such thing as a sweet potato seed, as far as I know. I mean, well, there probably is. I've never heard of or seen a sweet potato seed if it exists in my life. If you're talking about using the potato as a seed, that doesn't work. Okay. You plant a potato, you get slips. You plant slips, you get potatoes. You cannot plant a sweet potato and get sweet potatoes. It will not work. Lita knows, is it too late to plant garlic, Mississippi? Okay, we just did that one. Janie DJ, we harvested 400 pounds of beautiful potatoes in Michigan. Problem is they're all hollow. Any idea why? You've got a disease of some sort in your soil. If they're hollow and black, you have a disease. If they are just hollow, I've seen that before. I do not know what the cause is. If they're hollow and black, then you've got disease. You got diseased soil. Dan Rose, any use for lasers on a pistol other than making the cat run after it? Yeah, if you want to tell the bad guy where you are, it's a great idea. I mean, I understand the whole point when you had, originally they had, the lasers on it, it's like, okay, now you got red dot or green dot or whatever you want to use, there's no, but you think of all these movies that you watch, go to movies 20 years ago and you see all these guys walking around, the lasers are pointing all over the place. It's like, oh, I can see where the target is over there. And the target's going, oh, and I can see where you are over there too, so, yeah, at this point, again, technology has gotten way better. The laser sights on pistols, probably not a good idea. Or rifles that way too. Okay, unless you want to use one for deer hunting, the deer's not going to care. He's not shooting back. Broken Dolly. Snowing big flakes up here on the mountains in southeast Tennessee, and it's sticking. Okay. I can't, it's pitch black out here, so I can't see out the window. I know we had a possibility of snow, but when you're saying southeast, I'm guessing you're somewhere around Chattanooga. Old hippie, I'll skip it again one more time and I'll toss you. Lita knows, is guinea poo or bunny poo better for potatoes or sweet potatoes? Actually, really neither, because what you're talking about is a high nitrogen fertilizer. And like I said earlier, when I was talking about potatoes, you don't need a heavy dose of nitrogen to grow tubers. You need more potassium and phosphorus. I've got 2 liters filled with water and banana peels and wondering if I should pour this in soil as my fertilizer. Yeah. What you're creating there is a little bit of liquid potassium. I know there's people out there that say this doesn't work. It does. Okay. And again, please remember this. You're not going to get the same results out of a natural fertilizer like this as you are out of a chemical fertilizer, because you don't know how much, I'll use the term seepage, of the potassium you get from one banana to the next is going to be. the chemical fertilizer, they know exactly what they're putting into it. So they can say this is 10, 10, 10. You don't know that from banana peels or coffee grounds or potato peels or crab shells or egg shells or whatever. You don't know. All you know is there is some in there. So, what do with that? Yeah, pour the water out. And the other thing to do, bury the rest of the banana peel too. Okay. So you can use the water to kind of spray and then compost the banana peel itself. Uh, RLRL. Blue Eddy is great, but a bit high on price. Yeah, I will say again. I mean, Blue Eddy's a good product. Jackery's a good product. They're just overpriced compared to all their competitors. Okay, uh, you know, that, that's it. They're good. If you want to buy the name. Okay, but you're going to pay for no extra performance. Actually, in a lot of cases, you're paying for the name and worse performance. 54 cal. Do I need any seeds? I have way too many and want to give them away. No, I've got boxes. I mean, when I mean boxes of seeds, I mean, you know, 12 by 12 boxes full of seeds that I need, that I've got. Okay. I've got more seeds than I know what to do with. I need some here last year giving away seeds like crazy. No, please do not send me any seeds. I do not need them. Uh, Laura Eldridge, would it be better to put 10, 10, 10 in my mulch pile? I'm assuming you mean your compost pile. No, because I mean, like anything else, eventually what you're doing there, that fertilizer is all going to seep through the compost pile and it's going to wind up in the ground under your compost pile. Put it straight in your garden. Uh, Jennifer Combs, what is the best way to sharpen equipment? Uh, if you've got a grinding wheel, that's the fastest, easiest way. You can just hold your axe handle or whatever, and zzz across and zzz the other side, and you got it done. If not, you're going to be talking about using a metal file, by hand, doing it that way. Not a big deal. Takes you a little bit longer. Obviously, you're not a rotating wheel. Uh, if that's what you're talking about. If you're talking about sharpening a chainsaw, well, that's totally different. You can use the metal file again. You just got to make sure you get the angles right. I find it easier to use my Dremel tool and little chainsaw sharpening when I just go zzz, move to the next one, zzz, and go right there. So use mechanical where I can, but I've got the tools to sharpen my chainsaw by hand. I've got metal files to sharpen my lawnmower blades, my shovels by hand too, if I want. Texas Chica, good evening. Thoughts on the talk about the Iraqi dinar? I saw something on that yesterday. Somebody was talking about converting dollars to Iraqi dinar. And I'm like, okay, so you've been hanging out with Hunter again. Go into your bank tomorrow and ask them, can I trade my money in for dinar? They're going to look at you like you got three eyes. I mean, maybe if you live in, I don't know, Dearborn, Michigan, or New York City, possibly. Okay. But hell, for the most part, go into your bank and try to convert your dollars into about anything. Tell them you want to convert your dollars to yen. Japanese, okay, ally. Probably not able to do it. Okay. A lot of the other countries in the world, Mrs. P would tell me stories about this all the time, where the Russians would be converting their rubles to dollars and dollars to rubles constantly right there in the bank, because they were playing the hedge on the value of the ruble. Pretty much everything in the world is based on how it compares to the dollar. So when we're starting to play the other way around, you're taking what's now called currency risk. And how much faith do you have in the Iraqi economy? You think the dollar can collapse? What's the chance that the dinar collapses? Yeah. Don't, unless you really know what you're doing, don't start trying to hedge currencies. That's an easy way to go broke fast. Randall, what's my take on the tunnels in New York? I'm assuming you're talking about the ones from the Jewish community. I saw something briefly on this today, so I don't know much about it. But I guess it was what, tunnels that were dug for like 700 feet or whatever. Uh, I didn't even catch what the reason was for the men to be with the women during COVID or something strange, but it was underneath people's houses or however that worked. Just, I didn't get into it. I'm just like, that's just weird, you know, and I wasn't going to spend all this time trying to figure it out because it really made no difference to me what crazy crap they do. It's New York. I talked about Ray Epps at the beginning. Who's your daddy? I know you vape, but do you like cigars? I'm enjoying a Cuba Cuba right now. Uh, I haven't smoked. God, when's the last time I smoked a cigar? Okay. Honey, have I ever smoked a cigar since we've been together?
No.
Okay, no. So it's been at least 9 years. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've smoked a cigar. Karen Ferry says, "Do I can butter? Actually, ghee is what I can. Yes." And now I got to find where I was again. Do 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 do. Oh shit! It's 9 o'clock. All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry about that. I lost track of time, but it is 9:01. We actually went long, and I'm gonna cut into Jason's time. Sorry about that. We'll see y'all in the morning. Pinball out.